Have you ever felt like your mental gears are just completely grinding to a halt when you're facing a really prolonged difficulty or some sort of crisis?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is such a universal feeling. The engine just seizes up.
Right. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and we are jumping into something super fascinating today.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here to break this down with you.
So, we are looking at this brilliantly layered essay. It's dated May 28th, 2025, and it's titled The Lubricant of the Soul underscore day 148.
Which is such a great title.
Yeah.
And it pulls together this wild mix of sources, scripture, World War II history, modern professional sports, and high-level management science.
It really does. And our mission today is to extract a complete three-pillar blueprint for active resilience from all of that.
Right.
But, we need to clarify what we actually mean by resilience for you listening today, because this isn't just about gritting your teeth and surviving a terrible Tuesday.
No, not at all.
As Winston Churchill understood, resilience is about prevailing. It's about how you structurally organize yourself to actually grow when the conditions around you degrade.
Exactly. It's an active process, not a passive one.
Okay, let's unpack this. The entire essay actually orbits around this deceptively simple quote from the writer Anne Lamott. She says, "Laughter is the lubricant of the soul."
Which, I mean, initially it just sounds like a nice sentiment you'd print on a coffee mug, right?
Totally.
But the word lubricant is a very specific mechanical term. It's the active physical quality that keeps a system's moving parts from seizing up under friction.
Like actual oil in an engine.
Exactly. If you think about prolonged difficulty like a grinding project at work or personal crisis, that friction eventually creates heat. And without lubrication, the psychological engine just seizes. You get stuck.
Wow. Yeah.
But the essay makes this really crucial structural point first. You cannot lubricate a machine that doesn't exist. You have to actually build the engine before you can oil it.
Right. You need a system.
Yeah, and the author breaks this survival engine down into three interlocking commitments.
And that brings us to the first part of the system, which the essay defines as the iron pillar of a committed identity.
The foundation.
Yes, the foundational structure.
Hmm.
And this is where Churchill in May and June of 1940 comes into the picture.
Right, the situation at Dunkirk.
Yeah, the British military was facing near certain annihilation. And the logical diplomatic move for a leader in that scenario is to manage expectations downward.
You soften the blow for the public.
Exactly. You prepare them for defeat.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, Churchill did the exact opposite. Facing these catastrophic military situations, he didn't manage expectations at all. He offered them blood, toil, tears, and sweat.
It's just wild to think about.
Right. He declared, "We shall never surrender." He refused to give up an inch of their purpose.
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of that decision.
Yeah.
Churchill recognized that in a moment of world-shaking friction, giving the British people comfort would have actually been a form of psychological abandonment.
Wait, really? Abandonment?
Yeah, because instead of false hope, he gave them identity. Clarity of conviction is actually a profoundly generous act of leadership.
Oh, that makes sense. It connects to Brene Brown's rule, right?
Exactly. Clear as kind. Ambiguity just leaves people spinning in the void. Churchill gave them an unshakable identity.
He looked at a terrifying reality and essentially said, "This is who we are. We are the people who do not surrender."
Right. And the author even traces this psychological necessity back to antiquity. They bring in the Apostle Paul's advice to Timothy.
Oh, I remember this part.
Yeah, Paul warns his protege that people will inherently seek out comfort when things get hard. They're going to want to listen to whatever their itching ears want to hear.
Like chasing myths instead of facing reality.
Exactly. And Paul's prescription isn't to debate the myths. It's to root his congregation in an immovable identity. The identity has to precede the crisis.
It totally makes me think about pouring the concrete foundation of a house.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
Like, you can't build anything without a firm base. You pour the concrete long before you ever try to put up the walls or roof.
Right, because if you don't have that firm base, the whole thing just collapses when a storm hits.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that quote from the legendary football coach Bill Walsh. He observed that winners behave like winners long before they are winning.
Ah, identity precedes circumstance.
Exactly. But wait, I want to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Doesn't an iron pillar of identity eventually just turn into stubbornness? Like, if you refuse to ever surrender or ever change, aren't you just going to break when the world fundamentally changes around you?
That is a completely valid question, and it's the exact danger of calcification. If you only have identity, you become rigid.
Right, you snap.
Yeah, and that tension introduces the second pillar of the blueprint, which is the willingness to rethink and reinvent.
Okay.
And to explain this, the author shifts from 1940s Europe to modern sports. Specifically, Steve Kerr standing at the edge of resignation after his 11th season coaching the Golden State Warriors.
Which is crazy because despite having 4 NBA championships, the essay notes that the shared feeling of the team was just gone.
Exactly. The magic was missing. Now, if Kerr was just being stubborn with his identity, he would have doubled down on his old methods, right?
Yeah, just force the old system to work harder.
But he didn't. He explicitly stayed not to repeat himself, but to reinvent. He stated, we have to rethink responsibility.
But rethinking is so hard to actually do in practice.
It's incredibly hard. The human brain hates it.
Which is why the essay brings in Adam Grant's framework from his book, Think Again. And I love this part. Grant explores the science of rethinking and the traps we fall into when our methods fail.
Right, the 3 unhelpful thinking styles.
Yeah. We act like a preacher, delivering sermons to defend our sacred beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Or we act like a prosecutor, just attacking the flaws in everyone else's reasoning. Or a politician seeking approval from whoever is listening.
And the problem is, none of those modes actually solve the problem. They're just defense mechanisms for your ego.
Right.
Grant argues that to successfully rethink, you have to shift away from those styles and become a scientist. You have to treat your beliefs as testable hypotheses.
Keep disagreements productive. Be curious. And be willing to update your views based on new data.
Exactly.
But, how does this apply to the modern listener, someone who isn't an NBA coach or a literal scientist?
Well, this is where the essay brings in Peter Drucker's concept of the knowledge economy.
Okay.
Whether you're a cardiac nurse or a payroll clerk or an engineer, your value in the modern world rests on continuous relational learning.
Because the world is constantly changing.
Yes. Your expertise has a shelf life. The only way to stay relevant is to actively reinvent your knowledge base.
Oh, that highlights that amazing quote from Jim Quick they included.
Remind me.
He says, if knowledge applied is power, learning is superpower.
That is so true. And I love a quote from Cervantes that the author uses here too.
Oh, yeah, the one about staying in bed.
Yeah. He who's down one day can be up the next,
Yeah.
unless he really wants to stay in bed.
That's brutal, but fair.
It is. It emphasizes that reinvention is an active, intentional choice. Just like the Arab proverb notes that planning is half of living. You don't reinvent by accident.
Okay, so we have the concrete foundation of identity.
Yep.
And we're adapting our methods like a scientist.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting. How do you actually know if your new approach is working? Or if you're just, fooling yourself?
Ah, the accountability test.
Because people are so good at convincing themselves they're learning when they're really just shuffling papers around.
They absolutely are. And this brings us to the third most unforgiving pillar of the system.
Machiavelli's concept of the effective truth.
Yes, via the strategist Robert Greene. Greene points out that most of mankind is totally satisfied with appearances. We love a good story.
We really do.
But the effective truth requires judging actions and maneuvers, not the stories people tell. The essay uses this great example of a pope. A pope can sermonize endlessly about caring for the poor. But if his actual day-to-day actions only serve to expand institutional power...
Then institutional power is his effective truth.
Exactly. The physical results dictate the truth, not the internal feelings.
I see. It's like checking a bank statement.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. You can tell yourself a story about being super frugal, but the effective truth is in the transaction history.
The numbers don't lie.
Yeah. As Benjamin Franklin warned, beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship.
That is exactly the mechanism. And you have to apply that ruthless accounting back to the previous pillars.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about Churchill. His magnificent speeches would be completely hollow if the Royal Air Force had lost the Battle of Britain. The victory was the effective truth of his identity.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And for Steve Kerr, his reinvention is totally meaningless without actual team cohesion and winning games on the court.
Exactly. And for Drucker's knowledge worker, if you just read more books but change nothing in your actual daily practice, your continuous learning is a failure.
You're just entertaining yourself.
Right. The gap between your stated commitment and your actual behavior is the small leak that sinks the ship.
Okay, so now we have all the pieces on the table. The identity, the rethinking, and the effective truth. What happens when we actually assemble them into a working engine?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, The system completely fails if any single pillar is missing.
Let's walk through those failure modes.
Sure, commitment without rethinking. That's just a general, endlessly attacking the same hill. It's stubborn failure.
Right, just banging your head against a wall. What about rethinking without commitment?
That's aimless revision. You're constantly pivoting, but you have no foundation.
And accountability without the other two.
That creates a really cold, brittle performance culture.
Huh.
All metrics, no soul.
Wow. But when it's all working,
Hmm.
it reminds me of Andrew Carnegie's motivational formula.
How does that map onto this?
Well, Carnegie said, if you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes.
Oh, that aligns perfectly.
Right. The goal is the commitment. The energy is the learning and reinvention. And the command on your thoughts, that's the accountability.
It creates this beautiful continuous engine. But, and this brings us full circle to Anne Lamott.
Laughter is the lubricant of the soul.
Yes, because running a rigorous three-part system like that, it can easily start to feel like a grim mechanical obligation.
It sounds exhausting, honestly.
It does. That's why the lubricant is so essential. It's that lightness of spirit that prevents the engine from overheating.
So it's the ability to fail, laugh at yourself, get back up, and say, well, much like Churchill, this is hard, we're doing it anyway, and it will be worth it.
Exactly. You hold the heavy things with a light grip.
So what does this all mean? For you listening right now, true resilience means actively balancing your unshakable identity with a scientist's curiosity while ruthlessly measuring your real-world results.
But the author leaves us with this incredible, piercing self-examination question buried at the bottom of the essay.
I love this question.
It asks, are you inventing things to do to avoid the important work?
Oof. That is the effective truth turned right at your own ego.
It really is. Are you doing the work or just busy work?
I want to pair that with Robert Louis Stevenson's advice to judge each day not by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant.
That's a great reframe. You don't have to win the war today, but you do have to plant the seed.
Exactly. So here is the challenge for you today. Look at your schedule. Are you genuinely planting seeds toward your committed identity? Or are you just inventing busy work to avoid the effective truth?
It's a tough question, but a necessary one.
It really is. If you feel those mental gears grinding, it might be time to check your foundation, update your methods, and apply a little lubricant to the soul.
Keep questioning, keep learning.
And keep moving forward. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.